So you got to be asking yourself, why would you want to start an engine and let it run at 2,500 RPMs for 25-30 minutes? All right, so we're back out here today. Got the wheel and tire thing handled for the Camry, but I'm gonna show you what I got going on now. And I don't normally do this, but at this one I'll make an exception. But today we have a 65 Chevy Impala, and if you look, it may have something special going on. Let's check it out. So as you saw in the thumbnail, it says 396 turbojet. So what do you think we got in here? We'll find out in just a minute, but let me show you some things about the car. So one would assume by seeing that, you would think this is a factory big block car. Well, let me go over a few things. Now, I don't know the Impala as well as I do the Chevelles and Camaros and stuff, but usually it would have emblems and holes here for the emblem for the Super Sport. I don't really know what we got, what other things it would have. But it's a really cool looking car. And he's put floor pans in it. It still needs some body work on it, but and it's a factory stick shift car as well. But yeah, big body car. But I was going to show you something, and usually I think it would say Super Sport on the fender. But if you look in the VIN number, like the Chevelles do with the 136 for the Malibu and 138 for the Super Sport up to 1968. Will say 166 in the VIN, or if it's a Super Sport, or 164 if it's a standard car. And this one says 164. So this is a standard trim Impala, which is still a luxury high-level car. But I don't believe this to be a Super Sport car. So those fenders may have came off something else or emblems. Now, I don't know for certain if this did come with a big block and it was a Impala non-SS, but I'll show you why it's here and what we're doing with it. So this car has a fresh small block Chevy, which what looks to me like it's got Vortex style heads, but it could be the early 90s model, like swirl port cylinder heads on it. What they're honking at. Anyways, but he's got a fresh camshaft in it, and they have started it and let it run just briefly, but it hasn't been broken in yet. So usually I don't do those. I don't really want to mess with flat tappets anymore because everybody's having issues with the things going flat, and that's one thing I was like, man, I don't know what the valve spring pressure, I don't know anything about it, and usually I really won't mess with those, but I'm going to make an exception. And I told him, I was like, well, if it goes flat, it's not my fault, because again, I don't know what's in this thing. I don't know what's been done, you know. And the problem isn't necessarily the cams and stuff, it's how they're made, and they're not heat treated properly. All of them's having problems, and our oils aren't as good as they used to be. So we're just going to do our best and see what we can do. But yeah, we're going to see if this thing's going to fire up, and yeah, we'll do the 2,500 for 25 minutes deal and see if we can't get this thing broken in. So the first thing I've ran into here is the thing is dead. It doesn't do anything. And then I found out, of course, I didn't see, it's got an electric fuel pump on it. So when I turn the key, it doesn't do anything. The wiring looks like it's pretty clean and done right, but I put the starter switch across from the solenoid to the power, and I try to put it on the button here, and it's doing nothing. So I'm gonna have to investigate a little more. So decided to check the battery here. We got no juice. This sucker is dead. But not to fear, I've got another hot battery. But everything looks like he's done a really good job. All the wiring is clean and done right and everything. Now I will tell you, he's nothing but the best. These are the back covers for a K5 Blazer. That's the only thing I'll lay on in the gravel. So you better get you one. This one goes to Matt's Blazer. I hadn't gave that to him yet, but don't tell him. Because I've been using the lay on. But yeah, let's put a hot battery in this thing. I will also note this thing has got all tubular suspension. like I said, he's got some body work to do, and it's going to look good. But yeah, he's getting it there, man. This is going to be a cool car. And ironically, this is 65 Chevy, which probably had a 327 in it. And the engine that I was saving for a 55 Chevy one of these days is a 65 327 with the 461s on it. So that is the car that this motor came out of originally. So I have the year correct motor for that car if a person was wanting to do that, but he's already got a good motor, it doesn't matter. But yeah, this is out of a 65 Chevy Impala. That's a 65 Chevy Impala, so how neat. All right, we got 12.2, got the winch battery out of the trailer. Now when I put the cables on it, the fuel pump kicked on. One thing you want to make sure is those floats aren't stuck and that it's pouring fuel out of the float bowls into the motor, because that will effectively go down the intake runners, get in the cylinders and go down past the rings and get in the oil, and that's the last thing you want if you're breaking a camshaft is a gasoline oil soaked deal. It does not break in camshafts that well. So our next move is we're going to see if this thing's going to fire up, and we're going to run it for a little while, as long as we can until it gets hot, and then we'll shut it off and then probably bring the hose down and run it over the radiator to cool it down and everything and see what it does. On these engines like this is that idle, especially being a flat tappet camshaft, the oil that's slinging off the crankshaft is going up and slinging on the bottom of the camshaft, and it's oiling the lifters in the thing on the mating surfaces. It's where the camshaft and lifter, the contact, is getting its oil off the crankshaft. So at 2,500 RPMs, that crankshaft is just slinging oil inside that motor, and it's keeping that camshaft lubed up, because the two mating surfaces have to break in together, and also the lifter has to be able to spin in its bore too. And usually when I do this, man, I check the valve spring pressure, I check the push rod length, I check for coil bind, because that's another thing with these, depending on which heads. If it's got the vortex, he said this is like a 480 lift comp cam, so I'm thinking a Magnum 280H, which is a 480 lift. That is right on the cusp of the press-in rocker studs, and what'll happen is your retainer and the guide, once you get over that, they will touch, and what'll happen when they touch, it'll wipe the lobes off a cam. So what you'll do is you'll cut the guides down for that extra lift. I don't know if that stuff's been done to this one, but I mean, that's stuff that I would go through and check and everything. But he said he's had it to fire up and run for a second, so I would imagine it's not binding. And then also you check for coil bind as well, where if it's too much lift, the springs will basically go all they can go, and it'll bind up and eat up a camshaft too. So that's a lot of stuff you would check, but he says all that stuff's been checked. It should be good to go. Like I said, he's had it where it fired over and hit. So I'm, going off of the word I got on it and everything. So we're going to fire it up. Should see what it'll do. So both batteries went dead on me. So I've got the battery charger on it. So I've checked the antifreeze, checked the oil. We're getting gasoline. We're going to find out if we're getting spark. Let's see if this thing's going to kick off. We're going to see if she starts. We'll measure voltage when it runs. Not showing any. That's weird. We're not showing any voltage. Oh, you gotta hook the leads up, duh. Alright, now we're in business. 14.6. We're on the 100 amp start. Let's see. Yep, let's go for it. Let's see what we got. Heavy enough spring on the old throttle. Let's see here. Just squirting any fuel. Not getting any fuel. gas. Come on. Oh hell, the carburetor's loose. So we have fuel up the line to the carburetor, but it's like the accelerator pump isn't like pumping fuel out of the little jets into the venturi and everything, and that's the accelerator pump there, and it just doesn't act like it's getting a good prime. So I'm gonna pour some gas in the bowls and maybe see if I can help it, but it is getting fuel from the pump. And then I also, since I'm just by myself, I put the starter button on it, so we're gonna do that. So let me add a little gas to the bowls and we'll try to see if it'll start. All right, here it goes. Let's see what it's got. Let's see what this thing's got. So after confirming we have voltage and everything, so I came over here to check the key wire, and some of you may notice right off the bat what's the deal. So this is your tachometer signal. That is your 12 volts to ignite the coil and the pickup coil on the bottom of the distributor. So it's just a simple switch this over to the battery side, and now you have 12 volts to the coil. So let's try again. All right, you guys, I've got a voltmeter on there. Let's give it a little bit more juice. Let's go to the 100 amp start. Now we're gonna get it cooking. All right, turn the key on. Now I wanna make sure I am videoing, because I have done this before and forgot to turn the camera on. So I'm gonna turn the ignition and fuel pump on. Fire in the hole, let's see what it does. Woo. So number one, all the way up top dead center, you see we got a mark right there on 0. And you'd think normally that's dead on time, and it is, but it's on the... All right, so I went ahead and I was gonna retime it, and then I was like, well, I'm gonna go over the plug wires and make sure they're not cross-wired. Well, 3, 5, and 7 were going to other cylinders, so that would explain why it's popping out of the exhaust and popping out of the carburetor. So I decided to leave the timing right where it is and give it a go, but I kept thinking, the more I looked at these heads, I'm like, man, the 480 lift camshaft is right on the edge of your retainer here and your guide clearance on your guide that's in the cylinder head. Well, and these lifters are pumped up some, but I don't think they're pretty close. But what you want to do is get it at full lift and pry that spring down and make sure that you have some give to it. And that's what I'm going to test in a minute and make sure we're not coil binding, or the bottom of that coil retainer is not hitting the guide, because the guides, you have to machine them down. And also on your Vortec heads, the really good ones, you got the 906 and the 042, I believe. Those are and those definitely need the work. And also you'll see we got press-in studs, which again, 480's right on the cusp. But we have a 1.4, 102, 198 cylinder head. So that tells me this was on like a 87 through 95 Chevy pickup cylinder head, or like maybe the tune port Camaro Firebird cylinder head. But it's of one of those, so it's not the actual fast burn style cylinder head that's on it. but I'm still worried. I'm gonna do some checking and make sure that we got a little bit more clearance, because if that guide is touching that retainer, it's gonna round the cam off. So I'm gonna do a little bit checking and I'll get right back with you guys. So I tested it at full valve lift. I could take a tool and put underneath this valve spring and push it down. It has got some give. It's not, unless the lifter's not pumped all the way up, but it's got enough room where I don't believe it's gonna be bottoming out on the retainer. But without checking these springs, because for this cam, if it is a comp 280H, it should have 110 pounds on the seat and probably somewhere around, I don't know, 180-ish, 200 open. I'd have to look that up. It's been a while. I know everybody thinks I'm into the LSs and stuff, but I used to really geek out on these things and everything. So it's been a while, but I definitely remember enough stuff to get me in trouble. So yeah, we're gonna put the cover back on it now. I think we'll just try to see if it'll run, but I don't believe the retainers are bottoming out on the guide as I was stating. But yeah, let's see if we can get it to run. All right, so we're back together. The wiring's right on it. Everything's plugged in. Like I said, it could be on the wrong stroke as far as the timing goes, but I think it kind of wants to go, but we'll see. Yeah, I don't believe the retainers are bottoming out on the guides as far as I could tell. I'll go over at the end of this stuff some things I would change about this setup and make it where it'll really get after it. But right now our main goal is to get it running and get this camshaft broken in without eating up the lifters and everything. So yeah, let's see if it fires up. Come on, man. All right, so the first part of that, it ran about 10-12 minutes and she's getting hot. But we also got an oil leak that I think is the oil pressure sender that's leaking down on the ground. It's dripping pretty good, but that's not too much. But we got to investigate that. But yeah, we're gonna let it cool down. All right, we're on round 2 of this cam break-in. it's just pouring oil out of this valve cover on the very back. You can see it, especially when I rev the engine up. Yeah, it's just pouring oil out. Gosh dang it. Another issue, I found where the leak's coming from. These gaskets, I don't really like to use these one-piece rubber gaskets. But yeah, they don't fit in the rail just right, and they're pushing out of the side. You can see how they'll bow up like that. So I might change these to the quart gaskets so we can actually get a seal. So, all right, so what I did, I went ahead and moved it over here by the garden hose. And since this thing, the fan clutch is no good and the fan shroud isn't on it, I was taking water and basically just kind of running it from the hose over the cores of the radiator, and that helped keep it cool and everything. But I now have it where it's idling and everything, and it's got some decent chop to it. It's really hard to do anything with these open headers like this and making all of this noise, but so far so good. It's carrying good oil pressure, it's idling good. All right, so we'll check. We're neutral. All right, so what we're gonna do next is we're gonna try to drive this down to the garage. Now the seats aren't bolted down and the brackets aren't, the brackets are kind of rusty, so I was gonna try to bolt them down, but that's not gonna work. So this is a 3-speed sagging also. If your H pattern was like this, reverse is here, first, second, and fourth. So let's see if we can get this thing motivated. There we go, there's neutral, to get to the garage. So it starts back. Okay. Oh shit, where's the handles at? How am I gonna get out of here? Oh shit, there ain't no. Alright, so I escaped the car with no door handles on the inside. Luckily I had one handle where I could get out. But next thing, I've got a shroud here that I'm gonna try to bolt on it. And it's got a completely wore out clutch fan, but this car didn't come with a clutch fan from the factory. It just had a fixed blade fan. But who knows if anybody's got anything like that. We're just gonna try to make the best of what we have. But so far it seems to be running good. The cam hasn't went flat. I don't hear any valve train noise, so we're gonna move on to the next thing and everything. And did I mention this car's had all the tubular control arms and all that stuff done? Somebody's done some pretty good work to it. Next thing though, we're gonna crawl under here and I've got a set of shocks to put on it. And as you can see, these probably, I don't think these are the original ones, but probably gonna have to do some cutting to get these off, because they are a little bit rusty and stuff on here. Also, we've got something. This car has a 12-bolt rear end in it. Now you would be saying, man, this is the same 12-bolt that's in a Chevelle. I learned the hard way a long time ago. I went and pulled one of these out, and I actually, it was on a big station wagon, and I learned, and I was so excited that to get a 12-bolt, it's when I first got that blue Chevelle, that I was like, all right, man, I think I gave like 150 bucks. And I went out there in the weeds and cut this thing out. Well, I had a shock blow up on it when I was using a cutoff wheel. Back then I had these sweet sideburns. Now I had sweet sideburns. It burnt, and I had no shirt on either, walling around on the ground. But it burnt like the hair on my chest and burnt one of my sideburns off. And yeah, so don't be cutting on these shocks with no cutoff wheels. Calm down and do it the right way. But turns out on these upper trailing arms bolt on the axle tube, where the Chevelle, the A-body's bolt up here on the top of the housing. So I learned that the hard way, but it's still, I made money when I got rid of the rear end, but it ended up being like a 241 with an open diff, so it did me absolutely no good. So I think that ended up going under a 1950 Chevy pickup. So, but yeah, we're gonna try to get these bolts loose on this thing and get these old shocks off, and then I'm gonna look at the new ones he gave me, make sure they're gonna work. But yeah, definitely, it's got a new tank in it. Work in progress. But I will note that he's got to put a trunk floor in it. But again, you know, just trying to get it up on the road. As old as these cars are, it's actually not in that bad a shape. The wheel wells look pretty good. It's just a really, really old car, you know. So you got to do the best you can do, man. But the main thing is it's going to be running. It's going to be on the road. So does it have an open diff? Looks to be so. I bet this has probably got a 308 differential in it. All right. Our rear shocks are on this machine. All that's buttoned up. But yeah, this guy, he's put new floorboards in the car. Front, basically, it still needs a trunk floor, but he's put all that stuff in it. He's done a lot of work to it. Done a lot of work to the old Impala. So my next move is I'm gonna try to put that shroud on there, and I don't know if that fan's gonna fit it or not. We're about to find out, but so far so good. So we have to change this PCV grommet that's falling apart. It's like ripped. So we've got a new one of those we're gonna change. And then also we gotta put this fitting on the back of the carburetor, right back here on the back. I don't know if you can see it, that little pipe plug back there. We're gonna have to hook it up to our powered brake booster. So that's what I'm working on next. We're gonna go ahead and get this hooked up, and we're gonna see if this thing will start running in a minute. All right, so we got everything fixed up that I need to fix on this car. So we're gonna start it up, pull it down by the garage, and see if we can get this tire aired up. I think it's almost flat. And we're gonna try to attempt to drive this thing back to his house. So stay tuned. Good Lord, guys, this thing has got a monster trunk on it. It's lacking the trunk floor, as I stated earlier, but man, these things are big. Good Lord. Big machine. All right, so there it is, guys. 1965 Impala. It says 396 on it. I can't confirm that. But they said it had a big block in it when he got it, so that's what he's going to eventually put in. It's got the 3rd gen Camaro wheels on it. It's got some reupholstering done, and now it runs. And we're going to find out how far it goes. All right, guys, so the seat's still not, it's not bolted down. The brakes work, the engine runs good. This is gonna be the first drive this car takes. This thing's been sitting for years. He put the floors in it. He's never driven it. So let's try not to get carbon monoxide poisoning. Let's go a couple miles. So you guys can go all the way with me. So let's do this. We'll go back over the 65 Chevy Impala. Maybe a factory big block car. Not enough on it still. I could tell it's got a small block Chevy with a comp 480H camshaft. It's got a Saginaw 3-speed and a 12-bolt rear with, I don't know what gears is in it. So here we go. We got a couple miles to go. So our camera mount doesn't work that great. This transmission's not shifting all that well. My seat still isn't bolted down. We made it, guys. I'll see you back at the house. Fire this thing back up again, see if it works. and we'll get out and unplug the battery cable. So far so good, we're not overheating. This car right now, I've found that the alternator, if you leave the cable on, it's starting to get warm. But this thing, if it sets for a while with the battery cable on, that alternator I think has got a direct short in it somewhere because it's getting so hot you can't stand it. But the engine runs, it needs an oil change, and this is where it's back home, and it drove its first few miles. So yeah, it made it to its final place. This is where it belongs. Made it home. First drive. I think it's not too bad. It needs that Saginaw 3-speed and that Mr. Gasket style shifter. Those have never worked all that great. He's got a Muncie he's wanting to put in it and I'm sure he'll have the proper shifter. That's what it needs. So but yeah, until the next time you get some more done with it, we'll probably work on it again. So yeah, thanks guys, appreciate it.